I'm Daniel Levine, and this is the Bio Report. There's been a stunning lack of innovation when it comes to the area of male contraceptives. Men have the choice between a vasectomy, a procedure innovated in the 19th century, or condoms, which date back to at least King Minos in Crete in 3000 BCE. Next Life Sciences is hoping to change that with its Plan A, an experimental hydrogel that's injected into the vas deferens and provides a barrier that prevents sperm from passing. Plan A, which is regulated as a medical device, is expected to be easily reversible. We spoke to Darlene Walley, CEO of Next Life Sciences, about Plan A, the need it's addressing, and why she expects men and women to see it as a welcome alternative to current choices. Darlene, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Dan.
We're going to talk about Next Life Sciences, its efforts to develop a contraceptive for men, and the market such a product might address. Let's start with male contraceptives. There have been some efforts to develop both hormonal and non-hormonal contraceptives for men, but there has been a stunning lack of innovation. Why is that?
Dan, that's a great question. So the area of male contraception has been researched, I would say, almost 30 years. And like many great discoveries in medicine, even the thing we see most recently, the GLP-1s like Ozempic, Keytruda, those took 30 years. People see the instant success and they think they were maybe 5 years in development, but those are, over 30 years. And the same thing with male contraceptives. They've been studied and researched in all different forms in all different places around the world. And we're really fortunate now to have something that's very close to the market.
It's an interesting issue because men oftentimes don't have to deal with the consequence of not using contraceptives. What have you done in terms of market research to understand demand among men for contraceptive alternatives? What's known about the unmet need you're seeking to address?
There's been a great study done by the Gates Foundation just a few years ago, and it was looking at men 18 to 49 around contraception. And Dan, over 80% of men in that age group are looking for a new form of contraception. Right now, they have condoms and vasectomy. Neither one of those are great options. Condoms have very poor compliance and have a failure rate of almost 20%. Vasectomies are rather permanent. In fact, interesting statistic is that men who sign up for an appointment for a vasectomy, only 30% of them actually don't show up for their appointment. So, they realize how final it is. Less than 50% of vasectomies can be reversed. It's a 3-hour plus microsurgery, and it's very expensive. It could be up to $10,000 out of pocket. So men in this age group, which is our demographic, 18 to 49, are looking for something that fits their lifestyle and gives them great efficacy. And they really want to partner with, the responsibility, as you mentioned, of contraception. It has been a burden for women primarily, but now we're seeing a real interest in male contraceptives overall.
You mentioned condoms and vasectomy, both which, for different reasons, can be quite unappealing to men. What's known about their willingness to use various approaches and what qualities they would seek in a contraceptive?
There's two things, as with any product, but especially a contraceptive, because the consequence, an unplanned pregnancy is very serious for both the man and the woman. And so that's, the first thing to think about is safety and efficacy. And then there's compliance. It doesn't matter how safe and effective your product is, if the consumer doesn't use it, it's meaningless. So, we see our solution, Plan A, as being something men can set and forget. So we like to say, set it and forget it. It's not something they'd have to remember to do every day. They wouldn't have to have special application indications. They wouldn't have to worry about transferring it to their partner. So we really wanted to create something that was very user friendly, but yet very effective.
You mentioned Plan A. Next is working to develop this. This is a hydrogel that's injected into the vas deferens, the tubes that carry sperm from the testes. How does Plan A work?
Great point, bringing up hydrogels. So hydrogels are a very, very important class in medicine. They're used throughout the body, everything from filling up brain aneurysms to creating bone density. And the really great thing about hydrogels, Dan, is the body sees it as being like itself. So very, very low rejection. These are things that can stay in the body for any length of time without the body rejecting it, like it might do with some other materials. So the way the Plan A works, the hydrogel is formed in the vas deferens, as you said. That's a tube that carries sperm, and it forms an occlusion that only allows a certain size to pass, and that size is 1 micron. So fluids and cell debris can go through it. But unfortunately, sperm are much larger. The head of sperm is the largest part. It's about 2.5 to 3.5 microns wide. So sperm can swim up to the hydrogel, try to get through it, but they can't because there's no opening large enough. So they just swim back. So we have really no effect on sperm's motility, morphology, or viability. We're just serving as a barrier.
And my sense is that a physician can find the vas deferens by just touch. What would be the process for delivering the Plan A?
Yeah. So physicians right now, primarily all around the world, use something called the no scalpel vasectomy. And you're absolutely right that the physician can actually feel the vas deferens. It's right below the skin. So they isolate the vas deferens, they make a tiny opening. In our case, with Plan A, they would insert the hydrogel, which is just literally 3 drops of a polymer solution. So that's all it takes. They go in one side, there's actually two vas deferens per man, and they do the other side. So very minimal interaction, invasiveness. It's a very simple procedure that can be done in an office, any type of office.
Does it require any local anesthesia?
There is a topical anesthetic that's used, and it would be just like getting your blood drawn, but having a topical anesthetic.
And what's known about the durability of Plan A? How long would it reliably prevent the delivery of sperm?
There was research back in the late 70s, early 80s on a predecessor to Plan A. It was a product in India called Brisic. And they actually put Brisic into hundreds of men and followed their sperm counts for over a decade. Actually, 13 years was the last measurement they took. So they were able to see durability for 13 years plus.
The expectation is that this would be reversible. What would be the process for reversing it?
Reversibility is one of the main features of Plan A because remember, vasectomies are very, very difficult to reverse. So, Plan A, the hydrogel, which we talked about, really is very stable. It doesn't biodegrade, it doesn't change with temperature, it doesn't change with pressure. It really is very happy where it is and it stays there until we change the pH slightly. So, the process that we use to reverse Plan A is we insert a small amount, about 5 milliliters, so a teaspoonful of a dilute solution of sodium bicarbonate, and that shifts the pH just slightly basic. So typically it's in a neutral environment, so that slight shift in pH takes out hydrogel, which is a very spongy, soft, sticky material, and it collapses into a water like material that's easy to remove from the body.
And what's known about the safety and efficacy of Plan A from studies you've conducted to date?
Yeah, so we've done extensive studies in a lot of preclinical work done in animals, as I mentioned, in India. They looked at it in humans for over 13 years with no safety issues whatsoever. We're just entering the clinical stage in humans. We've already tested our delivery device because one of the things about the vas deferens, it's a very, very small vessel. So think of it like spaghetti. So it's really important that the doctor can accurately and safely get into the center of the vas deferens to insert our hydrogel. So we have a proprietary patented device that really gives the doctor great ease and assurance that they are inside the vas deferens, not through it, not alongside of it, so that our hydrogel is placed correctly and it could be effective. And we've tested that in over 25 men in Australia and in Canada just recently with 100% successful insertion.
My sense is the FDA would regulate this as a device rather than a drug. What does that mean as far as the development path?
You're absolutely right. The FDA considers Plan A medical device, both the device that inserts the hydrogel as well as the hydrogel, because again, the hydrogel doesn't change the body at all. It's inert. It just is there as a blockage or an occlusion for sperm passage, and then it could be removed very easily. So we've met with the FDA already. We've laid out our clinical trial program, and we meet with them regularly as we progress through the different steps. It's very different for a medical device to go through the regulatory process. It's much simpler. The first phase are early feasibility trials, which we're in right now. Then we move into feasibility trials, and then after that, we do a pivotal trial. So much less involvement, much less patients will be needed, and therefore less money and less time.
So, where would that put the timing of doing the clinical development?
Yeah, right
When
now
might you be in a position to actually file for an approval?
yeah, we're looking right now. We're on track for a early 2027 FDA submission.
And we talked about the vasectomy. What benefits might Plan A have over a vasectomy? And is that primarily who you would expect to consider using a Plan A, someone who was contemplating a vasectomy, or do you see it attracting a much broader audience of men?
Yeah, we really see our audience, our demographic as being much broader than vasectomies, although, some young men right now that are considering a vasectomy would be a great candidate. So again, our sweet spot is 18 to 49-year-olds. The advantages over vasectomy are that it's less invasive, so there's less damage, there's less downtime, and also the fact that it's so easily reversed. So those are the two main advantages over a vasectomy.
And in terms of other contraceptive alternatives, who might choose Plan A rather than using, the alternatives to them?
Yeah, we get oh, many men coming into our website every day, wanting to start using Plan A. It's incredible the number of testimonials we get, the number of men. It's really for the man who knows that for the next several years he is not interested, as well as his partner potentially, in having children. So it really gives him that long lasting benefit. Where, as I said earlier, he could set it and forget it. But if he changes his mind, enters a new relationship, changes, his thinking about children, it's a very instantaneous reversal, which really makes it a very attractive contraceptive.
You touched on this a little, but there is a long development history to what today is Plan A. This did start out as a polymer coating for water pipes in India that was used to kill bacteria when it was recognized as having potential medical applications, although the man behind the push was an engineer rather than a medical doctor and faced some resistance. This was RISUG, which was an acronym for reversible inhibition of sperm under guidance. It, they have completed phase 3 studies in India, and it's pending regulatory approval there. But Vasogel, which Plan A uses, is based on RISUG but different. Can you explain what the Parsimus Foundation is and what it did to develop Vasogel?
Yeah, the Parsimus Foundation is a really important player in the male contraceptive world. They were early pioneers. Elaine Listener, the founder, in the early 2000s was investing in opportunities to advance male contraceptives. And she recognized rice in India and spent, a good amount of time understanding, visiting, and exploring the potential. As you said early on, it was looked at as a coating for the vas deferens, the inside of the vas deferens, and they also believe mechanistically that it had some effect on sperm. It was rather spermicidal. Science has come a long way since that time, and we have a much better understanding, and we have an optimized version of what they were working on. So we are not spermicidal. We actually fill the whole vas deferens, not only the inner coating of the vas deferens, but the center as well. So we form an occlusion. So while it was a predecessor of what we're doing right now, the Parsimus Foundation really moved forward with Vasogel, which is what Plan A is.
And was anything learned from the experience in India?
Yeah, quite a bit. The really valuable experience was those, you know, almost 1,000 men who had rice injected and into their vas deferens, and they were watched. They were studied, as you mentioned, in a phase 3 study for, over 10 years. So we have that data showing that the material that they use, which theirs is slightly different chemically, but in the body it converts to exactly the same thing that Vasogel is. So we took a shortcut of instead of having a reaction take place in the body, we just started with the right material, which is, a difference chemically from their product, but the ultimate product in the body is identical.
You mentioned that Rusig was had a spermicidal effect. It actually damages the membrane of the sperm to make them non-viable. Vasogel, as you said, is simply a barrier. It doesn't alter the sperm. What makes the Vasogel approach preferable?
We have so much data on Vasogel showing its safety. We have very low impurities. We have very high specificity of the polymer that we use. So it's a custom polymer that creates the hydrogel. So we've really analyzed thoroughly and created something under GMP, good manufacturing practices, which is required, by the FDA and by other regulatory bodies. Rice was only produced in a laboratory so far. So again, it hasn't made the leap into commercial manufacture, which is something we're doing right now.
How did Next come to develop Plan A, and what's the relationship between Parsemus and Next? Is there an ongoing relationship?
Yeah, the Parsimus Foundation, who developed Vasogel, was looking for a partner to take Vasogel to the market, and Next Life Sciences was selected. So we have an exclusive worldwide license to the technology, and we have a great relationship. We meet on a monthly basis to share information. They have incredible amounts of information from the decade plus that they spent developing Vasogel, and we're excited always to tell them about the progress we're making to get it to the marketplace. So, great relationship between the two. And their goal, the Parsimus Foundation goal, is to get this to the market. That's their single goal. They're a nonprofit foundation, really invested in getting male contraceptives to the market.
Next has said it's seeking to raise 20 million Series A to develop Plan A. How much have you raised to date, and what's the discussion with investors like as you seek to raise a Series A?
We've been so fortunate. We have some wonderful investors already on board. Our founder, L.R. Fox, he was the founder of Next Global, which is the parent company to Next Life Sciences. So he incubated the technology with his own funds. He has a family office. So that was the original inception of Next Life Sciences. And then we've raised over $10 million so far with investors. And the responses, as you mentioned, has been overwhelming. These are investors looking to make a social impact, and they realize the importance of Plan A, a male contraceptive that's long lasting, reversible, and not hormonal, will have on society. Right now, unplanned pregnancies are at 50%, which is a number that's just hard to believe in our country, a developed country like the US, that we would still have 1 out of 2 pregnancies being unplanned. And those unplanned pregnancies have a lot of consequences. One of the primary links to poverty is unplanned pregnancies. There's also a myriad of other ailments such as mental illness, physical problems for the child and the mother in an unplanned pregnancy situation. So this has great social impact worldwide. Plan A is, intended to be a world product, a global product, not just for the U.S., although the U.S. will be our first and largest market to start with.
I'm curious, in speaking to venture investors, whether you've spoken to any female venture investors and whether they react differently to this than male venture investors.
Female investors get it. Right away, they
Well,
run up
that's what I would think.
to and they see, right away they say, "Oh, finally, the burden's not only on us," as you mentioned early on in this conversation. So yes, women right away, appreciate that there's an alternative that doesn't involve them taking a hormonal birth control product. We know right now that at least 20% of women can't tolerate that. I believe that number's very underreported. So, it's just an option to have their partner participate in family planning. And it's really heartwarming, Dan, to hear the young men talking about how they're just struggling seeing their partner suffering so much. So they're a different person, they're, not feeling well, etc. And they really feel helpless because they don't have a great alternative. So that's why men in this demographic are really looking to play a role in contraception. So we're giving them that tool that hasn't been available till now.
The landscape for venture funding for devices is different than for drugs, and male contraception is not a well-developed area where there are large pools of capital waiting to find the next great male contraceptive. How much education and convincing do you find you need to do when you speak with potential investors? And are you looking beyond venture capital firms for potential funding?
That's a great question. So when I talk to investors, right away they understand we're a reproductive platform. So we're really revolutionizing reproductive health for men and women. So it's an area that affects all of us. So an investor is a person, they have partners, they have children, that they think this might be a great option for. And they really see this as something that should have happened, as you mentioned. It's something once people hear about it, they say, why hasn't this happened yet? And so investors really can easily wrap their mind around why something like Plan A and our other products are needed in society because there hasn't been a lot of innovation in reproductive health. There hasn't been a lot of investment, frankly, either. And we're looking at various investors. So far, we've been really, really fortunate. We've had family offices, we've had high net worth individuals, we've had life science funds, and we're in discussions with venture capital as well as corporate venture. So there's a lot of interest there. I think once we get Plan A further along towards the market, I think a lot of large pharmaceutical companies may decide this is a strategic area that they'd like to be involved in.
And is there a pipeline beyond Plan A? Is there a bigger vision of Next Life Sciences as some sort of men's health company?
Yeah, we absolutely have a pipeline of products. And as I mentioned, our platform is reproductive health. So for men and women, the other product that we have is a portfolio product, we refer to it as, and it's a product for the 40% of men who cannot take the current medications for erectile dysfunction because they have a medical condition. Usually it's a heart condition that prohibits that. So we have a topical product, it's a topical cream. Right now, those men who can take the current products on the market, their only option is an injection. So we have something that we believe is a lot more pleasant to use a topical cream. And that's really symbolic of the pipeline products that we're working on. They're all intended to meet to fill these large unmet needs in reproductive health, and they're all quite a bit de-risked. When we say de-risked, we mean, for example, the product for erectile dysfunction is a 505(b)(2) pathway. So that's a pathway in the FDA that allows you to take a drug that's already been approved, both the safety and efficacy, and have more of an expedited pathway just to prove that it works with your delivery system. So we're not talking about 10 years and over $1 billion. We're talking about something in 2 to 3 years that could be in the market and would require just tens of millions, not hundreds or $1 billion to develop.
Darlene Walley, CEO of Next Life Sciences. Darlene, thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you, Dan. It's a pleasure.
Thanks for listening. The Bio Report is a production of the Levine Media Group. To automatically download this podcast each week, subscribe to our RSS feed or through iTunes or other podcast manager. To join our mailing list, go to levinemediagroup.com. We'd love to hear from you. If you want to drop us a line or are interested in sponsoring this podcast, send email to danny@levinemediagroup.com. Special thanks to Jonah Levine, who composed our theme music, and the Jonah Levine Collective, which performs it.